Welcome back to Our Cynic Culture. I am Matt.
Jason.
Anthony.
And we may have Wild Turkey's best little happy accident. Let's find out. We have a very special guest with us today. This show has always been like a three-man show, and lately we've been doing a rotation over here. And today we have Anthony. Is it Limperos?
That's correct. Yeah, you got it.
Okay.
Hey, look at this pronunciation.
It's impressive.
Yeah,
Very good.
and Sir Anthony over here actually has his own podcast. He's got another podcast that he is on. He has graced us with his presence today.
My gosh, the pleasure's all mine.
Tell us about your show, though.
Oh, absolutely. Well, first of all, I just want to start off by telling you guys that I'm big fans of yours, and I'm so appreciative to be here. But
we'll sign autographs later.
There you go. But I actually do a podcast called The Mashup with my co-host is Steven DeLucia, and we've also had a rotating sort of third co-host. Yeah. But our concept is pretty simple. We basically are... we try to put out weekly content. We talk about life. We talk about one bottle per episode, and we try to taste stuff that people can actually get their hands on.
Right.
So we have occasionally.
And we're the opposite.
Yeah. We've occasionally had like a Van Winkle or something like that on there, something that's not as easy to get. But we've, I guess, in our journey, we've kind of tried to combine our experience of tasting whiskey over the years and sort of thinking about some of the podcasts that are out there that have a lot of like guests and industry people. We want to be more for like the common man or woman, you know? Yeah. That kind of thing.
I think it goes for the entry level or the person's been there a while, like the seasoned vet, right? Like anybody can listen to that show.
Exactly. That's kind of what we're trying to do. Yeah. And so that's why I appreciate what you guys do, because you do a little bit more variety, and that's, I'm so happy to be here right now. Matt, can I touch your beard, Matt? Like, I sort of got to reach across the table and grab that.
That's the backstage pass. Yeah, we'll do that backstage. Yeah. Well, we try to get like an eclectic mix here. We get a lot of different, we get food, we get alcohol, we get stuff. We do events sometimes. We just try to have fun too. Wild Turkey has got a dear place in all of our hearts, especially Jason.
I love some kicking chicken, baby.
Yeah,
turkey head over there. There you go.
Gobble, gobble.
So, but Jason being our primary product guy, he was able to procure this for us. I'm assuming you didn't use fast finger keyboards for this, but you were still able to get
this is on the DL. I had that text message come across saying, "Would you like to have this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I would, absolutely." So this is Master's Keep. So Wild Turkey's done a few of these. I think it's the 8th. Does that sound right, Anthony?
Yeah, I think they started in 2015. Okay. So the 7th or 8th, somewhere in there. Yeah,
we've had a few of them. We've had the 17-year Bald and Bond. We've had this one, and we have a Master's Keep one. We've not opened that one yet, but maybe in an upcoming podcast. This was recently obtained. So this is Unforgotten. This is a blend of bourbon and rye, and what Matt alluded to in the intro was it was a happy accident. So, Anthony, if you would pull that bottle that you brought out.
Oh, for sure, I would. I'd love to.
Pull out your merchandise, Anthony.
There you go.
So this one is Unforgotten, and Anthony's is Forgiven.
There you go.
So kind of batch one. And then the most recent batch. So Forgiven was, do you know the story behind it?
Yeah, from what I know, and here, actually, can I extend this a little bit? So
you can do whatever you like.
The first time that I came across this product was actually my aunt and uncle were visiting from Ohio.
Okay.
And we were in a liquor barn, and we saw this sitting. Imagine this, right? This is an allocated product sitting on an end cap.
Let me see that.
A couple of boxes and everything like that. And we asked somebody in a liquor barn what they thought about this, and they said, "Oh, it's really good." They said, here's the thing. Imagine being in a liquor store and having someone tell you something's really good, right?
Yeah.
And so they were like, "It's an accident." They gave us the whole story. They said that a person accidentally at the distillery blended a 6-year-old bourbon with I think they said at the time a young rye with a high proof, and this was the accident, and it ended up with this release. And so we were like, oh, okay. So, of course, my aunt and uncle visiting from Ohio were like, we're going to buy multiple bottles of that. I bought a couple bottles of it. We all liked it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was really, I think, how it came to be. And I didn't know at the time because at the time I was sort of amateur with bourbon.
Yeah.
And being that I didn't know a lot about it, I was like, buying the marketing hook, line, and sinker. And so I didn't know that buying this way back in the day, I think it was probably 2013 or 14, was going to lead to us sitting here talking about Master's Keep today, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting.
I've only had that bottle, I think, twice. I'd had it once a long time ago, and then I had it once recently with you.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we got to try that again. I'd love to compare it to this one. So
that is this.
So the difference between the two, a quick rundown is that is an accidental blend of bourbon and rye. This is the same blend of bourbon and rye, but extended aged and higher proofed.
Okay.
So on the Forgiven, the one over there, so what you have over there is, let's see, I lost my place.
Oh, that one was
91 proof?
Yeah,
91 proof, and I think the
What was
official
the age?
The official notes coming from Wild Turkey, or they said 6-year-old bourbon, 4-year-old rye.
Okay.
The rye was higher proof, the bourbon was lower proof, and the percentages were like 78% bourbon, I think, and 20-some% rye.
Now, the rumor on this one is 13-year bourbon and 8 or 9-year-old rye. So, again, extended aged, higher proof. The proof on this one is 105. That one was 91.
105 on the Master's Keep.
Correct.
91 on the
Correct.
Okay.
So, enough talking. Let's open this thing.
All right. Drinking. All right.
Fantastic.
So, Anthony, you mind to open that one and pour us a little pour, send that thing around
absolutely.
the horn?
Throw it around. Oh,
We got
gosh.
2 glasses
So,
here.
is there anything you would compare this one to, like the one that you got in your hand, the Forgiven?
Well, you know what I was going to say? There's like a whole lot of blending of bourbon and rye that's happening now. Like High West does
sure.
bull rye and
Right,
like
yeah.
other, I can't think of all of them right now, but a lot of companies are doing like mixtures of the two. And
But
so
Basil Hayden did one too, that 2x2 back
Yes.
in like 2018,
Correct.
2019.
That's very correct, yeah. And so I don't know that I would compare it to anything specific, but I do think that Wild Turkey was pretty early on, I guess, in this sort of craze of blending the two. But, I mean, I could be wrong, so we'll see. I will say this, make sure you keep track of your glasses so you know which one you're
Mine's
looking
actually
at here.
different. So.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put the new one, the Unforgotten, on
Yeah.
the right side.
I'm going to do the same thing.
And the left side, I want to put the Forgiven.
There we go. I can't
So-
put this cork in here. It's the
The Forgiven, let me get a little smell of that one. Smells fantastic.
keep in mind this
And
has
then-
been open for a while too.
When did you open that? A year, 2 years?
I'm trying to think because I had some stashed, so it's probably only been maybe 3 years. That bottle's been open
Okay.
2-3
Okay.
years, yep. Even though it's an older.
So do you remember the MSRP on that one? Like when you bought it?
I do. It was $49.99.
Wow.
Yeah,
That was a hell of a deal today's time.
And people thought it was crazy. If you look that
Well,
up,
and
right
what year
now,
was that?
That was
2013-ish,
14-ish, 13, 14.
I can imagine people being like, "Holy shit, I'm not paying that." Yeah.
They did, yeah. Oh, 100%. Even if you look back, like the historical, I love the internet, right?
Right,
You
yeah.
Google everything and everything. Like, oh, people are like, I have a hard time paying $50 for this mistake that's marketing. You know?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Okay.
You
And
guys
now
are
it's-
admitting this
and
is
now
a
it's like a $300 bottle, $400 bottle in secondary or something like that.
So secondary on that one, do you know the secondary on this one, the one that you have, the Forgotten?
I think it's
Forgiven. Is it
Oh,
Forgiven or
sorry,
Forgotten?
Forgiven. My bad.
Oh, I'm forgiven. My
Lord.
bad.
Yeah. I feel like we're in a Metallica
Yeah,
trivia
this
show.
is going to be a little tricky. So, Forgiven, batch one.
Yeah,
We're going to call it batch
yeah.
one.
There you go. Yeah. I think that the secondary is like $2 to $250, like on the enthusiast markets. That's what I like to call them. But if you go and you Google search it,
Yeah.
you're going to see prices from like $300 to $500.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about that. So if you're on those enthusiast markets, secondary, the shit show, whatever you want to call it,
Enthusiasts.
Yeah, if you're an enthusiast, if you want to look at those, like if you're in the Facebook groups and stuff, if you're in, there's probably 10. If you're in those groups, national, local, whatever, there's more than that. But you see a true secondary price. If you go online and Google it, it's more than that. Or if you go to a Justin's House of Bourbon, it's local. No offense, they have great products there, but they're higher than the secondary market. It's more of a, I flew in for Keeneland from Japan with my horse, and I want a bottle of Blanton's for $250. Like, I'll say you one for $249.
No, it's kind of tough. Yeah, for sure.
It's hard to gauge that. So you said $250 tops, kind of on that one.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of where, if I remember correctly, like I may have snagged one more bottle at a secondary price, and I think I paid like maybe 110, 120, but that was like 2
Which
years
is
ago.
super fair,
Yeah.
considering today's times.
Yeah.
Even the
It was
market
before
down.
the boom. Yeah, before the
for
boom.
sure. So on this one here, the Master's Keep MSRP was $200. Most places sold it a little bit above that. Secondary. The nice thing about Wild Turkey, not a ton of their products carry a secondary. So this one MSRP $200. Secondary is probably $350. That seem fair?
Yep.
And 350 is probably the high end. So again, you're not paying a ton more. So it makes us try it. So which one we trying first? We're going to go for the batch
young.
one.
I went young first.
You want young first?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Let's give it a shot.
Forgiven.
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 Yeah. So Forgiven is the younger one, and Unforgiven
Is
the
Metallica.
older- Is the Metallica's
Unforgotten
hit song from the
is
Black
this one.
Album? Yeah. Okay.
You
Wait,
guys
is
are-
it really Unforgotten?
Yeah, it's Unforgotten.
Yeah.
Wait, so the first one is Forgiven,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very confusing.
and the second one's Unforgotten.
Do you know why though? Like I
No.
read this recently because I read the press release that I think it was Eddie Russell was part of for Rob
One of the
Report.
master distillers.
Yes,
Eddie
yeah.
and Jimmy Russell.
Yeah, Eddie and Jimmy. But Eddie said that they wanted to call it Unforgiven, but I think Clint Eastwood has it trademarked.
Does
Yeah. So they said they couldn't
movie
use
he
it. There
did.
you go.
Really?
Yeah. So like
That's a good
they
movie.
could not use it, and that's why they went with Unforgotten. Yeah.
You know what they should have done? They missed an opportunity. They should have brought him on as a brand ambassador.
There you go. Exactly.
To fucking promote
There you
that shit.
go. No
Oh,
shit.
that would have
There
been
you
great.
go.
But what would it cost?
I don't know.
They
Yeah.
already paid too much for Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
For, was it long? What's the one he's got? Long Branch.
Long Branch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus
the
back,
Mesquite, Texas
Yeah,
Mesquite.
yeah.
Not very
Plus
good.
in 2014, you got Clint Eastwood on a bourbon. It'd be like $150, not $50. Yeah.
No doubt.
So again, we'll try these. So the Unforgotten one, the Master's Keep, additionally aged, higher proofed. It was actually aged in Rickhouse B, which is a favorite Rickhouse of Jimmy Russell. So
Okay.
he got to have that input on there. What are your tasting notes on Forgiven? You just tried that one.
So I'm kind of going with it's interesting. It kind of I do get a little bit of the you call it fusel alcohol, correct? Is that right?
Yeah, and that's something that kind of carries over from the beer. Just,
Yeah,
you know.
I got you.
It's more of unaged, not as
Okay.
smooth.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term.
I referred to that as astringent.
Okay.
And
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
the astringency.
I've heard of that.
It's a little bit in the front, but I also get some like notes of I guess what we call like lighter fruits.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just mentioned this before, we're talking like apples and pears kind of stuff.
Yeah.
A little bit
see
of
that.
let me take another taste real quick.
I get, while you're tasting there, I get a little bit of apple. Like it's not a green apple; it's more of like a red apple off a local tree. You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? Like it's a smaller, not the big giant ass Fuji apples you get in the store.
And not
but,
that
yeah.
like the skin, the apple
correct,
skin.
yeah, correct.
I think
It's not
giant ass is actually a varietal of apple.
It is.
in
Yeah.
Japan.
Yeah.
I think it's giant ass apples.
So
yeah.
you pay at least double for that.
Yeah, if I'm not
And you
mistaken.
gotta get health insurance on.
Yeah, I'll take 4 giant ass apples, please. Oh, yeah, those in the back, sir. Yeah. I don't get, and maybe this is more inexperience on my part because I'm not like as big of in bourbon as you guys are.
Yeah.
I don't get a ton of fruit. I do get, it's very bright. It's
Yeah.
very bright. I could see maybe like an apple, like skin kind of thing going on. I don't get a whole lot of like, meat in there, like the whatever. But like almost, it's like borderline, almost like grassy, like in a good way. Like it's just got like a lot of bright, just kind of like not effervescent, but just, I mean, it's smooth. I don't think it's super deep, but I think it's really good. I actually enjoy this. I
Yeah, I
enjoy it a
enjoy it.
lot.
I
yeah.
enjoy it quite a
And when
bit.
you say it's grassy usually signifies a little bit of youth, which is
Yeah.
not uncommon for a
Right.
6 and a 4-year-old
There you
blend.
go.
I mean, that's what it is. So,
Okay, yeah.
I agree. All right, that's good. Yeah,
I like it a lot. Yeah.
What about you? What are
Yes,
you thinking?
For sure.
I didn't try the
I
second
like
one
those
yet.
things.
You like those things?
No, I think for me, like tasty notes, I get a little bit of apple, like I told you, like the local just fell off a tree kind of thing.
Yeah.
In your backyard. Other than that, I don't think it's super complex, but I do think maybe it's being old a little bit. Maybe it's at 10-year-old overall. It's got more depth for me. It's almost like a little oxidation if you're
Okay.
comparing it to beer, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of smooths it out, rounds it out. It's also 91 proof.
Yeah.
So it's a
that's pretty
little
low proof.
smoother,
Yeah.
from that standpoint. So I think it's fantastic. I mean, for what it is, again, no, I'm biased, super biased. I'm a Wild Turkey fan.
Yeah.
I just am.
I love Wild Turkey too. 90 to 100 is kind of like my wheelhouse.
Okay.
He likes usually between like 140 and 150.
Oh,
I like 180.
hazmat, all hazmat, and over hazmat.
all his alcohol comes in clear plastic bottles you buy from Rite Aid.
Got the little skull and crossbones.
Yeah, it
like
says
our logo.
isopropyl on the side. Do you want to try the second one?
I'm getting ready to. So what do you think of that one? So the nose for me, it's similar. It's very much.
I think it's sweeter on the nose.
Yeah,
Like,
I
more
agree
like-
with that.
like
I was going to say a
caramel,
little sweeter. Yeah, like a burnt caramel, like a more
Yes.
depth
Yeah,
to it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
again, you're going 91 versus what's this one? 105.
105.
So 14 more proof.
The one thing I'm going to say right off the bat is that note that you guys are talking about, the burnt caramel, is very, very noticeable, but it's not something you would typically get off of a rye.
I agree.
Right.
Which is why that this is interesting, and I think a lot of people might say it's misunderstood, understood,
Yeah.
unforgiven, unforgotten, whatever.
We'll forgive
whatever.
you for
We'll
that
forgive
one,
him, forgive me.
Clint Eastwood won't. Clint Eastwood will not. He's coming.
But I think that's what it is. It's like because it almost tastes, it smells like a bourbon. You know what I mean?
Oh, for
Even
sure.
if it's
Yeah.
rye. Yeah,
If you
it's
told me
very-
this is if I didn't know this was a blend, I don't even know how to describe it.
Yeah.
I think the High West, the Burreye, they've done, I feel like they've done another one, but I can't think of it. But I don't know what I'd describe this as if I did not know it was a blend.
Yeah. I don't want to sound like a noob.
Too
but
late.
like if
No,
you
do
didn't,
it.
yeah.
Too late. Too late.
If you didn't tell me this was a blend with a
Yeah.
rye,
I wouldn't know.
I would not have
No,
known.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
either.
If you told me it was a blend with a rye, which I do know it is, I feel like I can be like, okay, I see it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to, sound like I'm just like speaking out of my asshole, but I feel like that's kind of appropriate. It's like,
So-
okay, I think I can kind of get some rye notes out of there,
Yeah.
maybe. But I mean, I feel like it's appropriate.
For
Yeah.
for a new drinker for rye, Anthony, what would you think would be like some descriptors for a rye? What do you think?
I think when it comes to rye, you're talking about layers of spice.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when I say layers of spice, for me, I always tell people, and this is so weird, so you guys can just tell me to go to hell or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, go to hell.
There's
That's a pre-go to hell. Anyway.
there's like very vegetal ryes that are very
Yeah.
like, I jokingly call them like the garden. Like
Okay.
you can taste all these weird spices that you might get from like a spice garden and things like that.
Yeah.
And then there's very sweet forward, or like almost like so vegetal, like piney, or like very sweet ryes. But I think that depends on the mash bill, right?
Right.
So the ones that are barely ryes tend to taste more like bourbon and tend to have more of that sweetness up front, which I
Yeah.
think is what we're getting with a little bit
Right.
of this. But the other mash bills that can be like anywhere from like 75% rye to like a 95.5 like MGP. Some of those 95.5 MGPs, like go lick the Christmas tree, right? Like it's so damn
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
like it's like sappy and like very like
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that's why I was describe it as layers of spice. That's what I mean. Like it's, are you high on the spice content or not? And then when we start talking about my weird vegetable versus fruit kind of thing, that's a whole other
PSA,
thing.
don't get high on spice. Eat people's face off, shit like that. Don't do it. Don't do it. That's a good descriptor. I like
Yeah.
that. Thank you.
No.
Any other notes on that one, Matt?
No, I like this. I think it's
that was a genuine thank you, Dan.
Jason's like, God damn it.
and go to hell.
You're like,
Oh yeah, and go to hell.
you're like and those spice notes are
Jumping back and forth between the two, one thing I will say is I feel like this one,
Which
I
one?
get more alcohol. The Forgiven.
That's the
Younger.
The younger. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
the
it's
younger one.
it's weird. It's 91 proof versus 105.
You get
but
more what now?
more alcohol. Like it's almost a little burn. Not
Yeah.
like it's not like it's burning my throat, but
Okay.
more like the fusel notes you talked about before.
Right.
It's a little bit more. And I think Anthony said it right too. It's a little typical of the younger.
Yeah.
Again, I really like this one, but jumping back and forth, this has more depth, which is what I'd expect. Right?
Yeah.
It's extended aged, higher proof, makes sense.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. This one has a very distinct profile to it.
Which one?
This is the Forgiven. So the
Yeah, it's
Forgiven
the-
goes
it's
from
the
like
younger one.
it goes
So
from-
Anthony's left hand is Forgiven. Anthony's right hand is Unforgotten.
Yes, exactly.
Same as mine.
Yes. And so this one goes from like your alcohol to your apples and pears and things, and the way it finishes with the spice is a little bit weird and astringent.
Okay.
I agree.
This is like
The Masters keep the
Unforgotten.
this is so much different, and when I'm saying it's so much different, it's like sweetness, like the bourbon sweetness, followed by nice spice layers.
Yeah.
Like when I'm talking about nice spice layers, I'm talking about like nice lemon, orange zest and things, and finishing nicely too. Like to the point where like
there's a lot of
back to
depth
that
there.
one. Yeah, a lot of depth.
And that's
And
one
so-
thing I didn't mention. Like, I don't get a lot of similarity between them.
Yeah. Well, I think there's similarity. I think it's misplaced. I feel this stack's different than this one. I think that where the flavors are different.
Yeah.
And I would definitely prefer the Unforgotten. Keep pointing at it across the table.
know, yeah.
I was like, hey, I like that. There you go.
I'll jump out of turn, and I
Yeah.
feel like this one, the Forgiven, is good, and this one builds on that tremendously. So it's like
Unforgotten.
this is 2 layers, and this is 6.
Ah,
You know what I mean?
that's a
Like,
good way to
it's
say it.
layered
Yeah.
up. So that's my thought on. Sorry, Matt.
No, that's what I was going
had
to say.
jump
Like,
in.
I enjoy them both. I mentioned that I didn't really get an astringent burn really in either of them.
Yeah.
But I feel like they feel like two completely different products to me.
Okay.
The way they
I can
taste,
see that.
where
I
they
can see
deliver,
that.
like they're just the delivery, the profile, the experience is completely separate. I don't get any similarity from them. I'm not saying they don't. There's not some nuance in there that I could probably pick out, but
Yeah.
the way that I experience them is just like night day.
So you don't think, like going back to a beer reference, you don't think this is a single IPA, just an IPA, and this is a triple IPA?
If you're gonna give me like 2 IPAs from different breweries, that are like
No. This is Treehouse.
that's fine.
This is a Julius,
Yeah.
and this is quadruple Julius.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's similarity like that?
Yeah, I can. I mean,
Okay.
it's they're both bourbons and rye.
Yeah,
They're
Sure,
both
sure.
the
Both
same
blend. Yeah.
constituent.
Yeah.
So I can
On paper,
pick that out,
they're the same extended age. I'm just
Exactly
trying
right.
to devil's
Exactly.
advocate.
I mean, honestly, that's a great analogy because if you put a single IPA and a triple IPA next to each other from the same brewery, you can be like, okay, well, I know they're the same thing, but tasting one, tasting the other, you're gonna be like, oh, this one's like light and like fizzy. This one's deep and rich and dark. Like not the IPA, but like you can actually like push them apart and like tell that they're completely two different experiences.
This is a bad story on me, but I'll tell it anyway. So I feel like
I like that later.
Back
It's a bad story.
Back to the IPA. Just go real quick with that, and I'll tell the bad story. But if you had a Julius and you had a triple Julius, and I could see the cans, even if you mixed them up, my mind's working and thinking, okay, I mean they're similar. Right? I know it's like this. They're similar. Yeah. So you can kind of draw that conclusion. You can draw like similarities. Yeah. But if you go completely blind, like I did in my 12 Days of Christmas from my beer group, and they sent me some bourbon samples, they might have sent me one that I completely missed. So thank you, Jason from Michigan, and for the shirt too. I like this home shirt. Thank you very much.
Wait. So what did they send you?
I'm gonna tell you. Hold on. I'm not getting off the hook. I got this. I got to squirm a little. I got to squirm a little. Yeah. So he sends me some very nice bourbon samples. So I try one, and he goes, "What do you think of this one?" I'm like, well, "It's really good." Like he goes, well, "What do you think it is?" I'm like, "Hell, I have no idea." But I'm getting some green apple. I'm getting some spice. There's some heat. Like he's like, "Well, it's not a bourbon." I'm like, "Okay." So I'm thinking like ice cider. We've had some of those, right? He's like, "Well, it's Thomas Handy."
So you were that close.
Yeah, I was that
Man.
close. But anyway, that's the running joke now. So I'm pouring a stout in my beer group, like it pours dark, no carb. It smells like bourbon barrels. Got to be a Pilsner, right? Thoughts overall on secondary of the Forgiven, because you can't get that anymore retail. So $250-ish. Would you buy another bottle, Anthony?
I've given this a lot of thought because I've shared this with my aunt and uncle. Family is very important, everything else.
So it's got a story.
Yeah. But tasting it next to this one, I'm not paying $250 for this at all.
If you never had it, would you pay it?
Probably curiosity-wise, I would. Yeah, of
Maybe
course.
split it with two other guys like us.
Yes, exactly. Through all the
saying.
purchase, I'm gonna do it. Yeah, 100%.
Well, what about you, Matt? So you can't get it retail anymore. So $250-ish.
This for retail, this would be an all day, every day.
Yeah.
Secondary, I really do enjoy that. And between the two, you were talking about how one is a little bit more alcohol forward than the other one. I actually think they're pretty on par as far as that kind of alcohol burn goes, which I think is impressive. And I do think the older one, the Master's Keep, is a little bit smooth, a little bit deeper, a little more robust, and it's got a little more of that kind of like caramel candy sweetness. But this first batch, as good as it is, I think $250 is outlandish. I think that's
absolutely.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, in the bourbon market today, it's not super crazy. It would be equivalent to an OWA, so Weller Antique store pick, NCF, like non-chill filtered. So if I had one of those to trade for this one, equal money, and I never had this, I would do it.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, I'm not paying $250 for it. But hey, it's a very good bourbon rye, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
The blend. Okay, let's move on to this one. So, the Master's Keep, the Unforgotten. So, 200 MSRP. Most MSRPs, what you're going to find in stores more than that. Secondary, $350 tops. What would you do on this one? So, MSRP at 200, would you pay it?
I've had two other Master's Keeps. I can't remember the name of the other one. I've had the 17
You've had the BIB, the 17.
Yeah, I've had the bib and that. And actually, I've tried the one too. I've
not tried that one.
I've liked this one the best so far of the ones that I've tasted.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm gonna buy it both ways. Buy it retail and secondary.
Okay.
Yep.
Matt.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass on the Forgiven on the secondary.
No, we're just talking about the Unforgotten.
On the Unforgotten, on the retail, I would definitely do one. Secondary, that's tough. I'm not as committed as you guys are, so I might pass on that one. But that's a fantastic product. That's delicious. I really do like that one.
It's unfair to even ask me. I'm going to buy it both ways. $100 difference on this to have that Master's Keep. I'm buying, but again, I'm very biased on Wild Turkey products. I'll admit that. So I'm a buy. But either way, I think both worth trying. I'm glad I got the opportunity to. Thank you, Anthony, for bringing that one.
Oh, absolutely.
And thank you, me and Matt, for having this one.
Yeah.
So
stay
Thank you
tuned
guys
for
for
when we follow
having
up Forgiven and Unforgiven with Fuel and Unfueled, and then S&M, Symphony and Metallica.